First of all, before I jump into it, I was checking out my podcast analytics the other day, and 50% of you that are listening pretty regularly are not subscribed to Apple or to Spotify or to YouTube. So if you can take 1 second and hit the follow button, the subscribe button, wherever you happen to be listening, it is so super helpful for me when I am putting out this podcast and wanting to support more midlife women. This helps me in so many ways. And if you could share it, if you have an episode that really resonates with you, it goes such a long way to support not only me, but any other small creators that you appreciate listening to their work. So thank you so much for that. So we knew that April was going to be a ride, according to the astrology anyway. I mean, we had 10 celestial bodies in Aries. I think it was on Friday. So, when I was looking at this month, though, I had a lot of hope for this month, and I still do. And I think that I have been kind of riding the emotional roller coaster. I have my solar plexus defined anyway. So I'm always somewhere in a wave, but everybody is experiencing that right now because of where the nodal placements are, which we will talk about in a few minutes. I've definitely been experiencing the ups and the downs because of the consistent barrage of horrible shit happening in the world, as well as the consistent beautiful things happening in the world. And so, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was holding these two truths at once and how important it is right now for us to own our own sovereignty. And what I mean by that is being who we are to the best of our ability and doing everything we can to shed conditioning, to buck the expectations that don't align with who we are and who we want to be. And this happens in the tiniest of moments. So I have starting to make connections into a new community through my older son's lacrosse team. So he's playing lacrosse at the college level. And so I'm meeting all of these new parents. And what I'm noticing about myself is how quickly and how easily it is to fall back into old patterns, to fall back into being shy, Lori. I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and she was like, oh my God, it's like the middle school cafeteria all over again, Who's the cool crowd? Who's the not cool crowd? Who are the people who are going to welcome you in and say, hey, like, let's chat. Who's your kid? And who are the kids who are going to wait until they understand who your kid is and what he's doing on the field and whether you're worth their time. And it's just been blowing my mind, honestly, to be there, to be experiencing it, and then also to be kind of in a metacognitive way, watching myself and watching how I interact and trying really hard to just be myself. And I have to be honest, I know some of you lacrosse moms are listening to this pod, and it's really vulnerable for me. I've been reflecting on is how interesting it is recording this pod and sharing it with you every week. It's very much a reflection of my thoughts and what I am taking away from the collective, what is happening, what I feel like sharing, what is on my heart, what I feel like midlife women really need to know and ponder and dig into. And it is very vulnerable because in the past, my undefined G center, it's so easy for me to kind of meld into whatever crowd I need to place myself in. I can pretty much find a place to fit, find an inroad because I have that undefined identity center. With this podcast, though, it's so much easier for people to know who I am ahead of time and have this expectation then about me, which floors me. So I share all of this because we are in Aries season. This is the start of the astrological new year. So Aries is very much about me. It's about the I am, it's fiery energy. It is also in the year of the fire horse. So we have all of this energy that is about moving forward and about sovereignty. And as we know, there's light and dark to every single one of us, right? And shit hits the fan. It's been hitting the fan continuously, right? As we break down these old systems. And I have to say that the whole rape academy bullshit threw me for a real loop last week. I was depressed. I was enraged. I was really upset for a few days. And I sat with it for a bit, first feeling rage about men in general. And the next kind of phase of feeling was more about what is beneath it and trying to understand, why does a person create a website that teaches others to rape their partners, rape whoever, like whatever unsuspecting person might be in their lives? What is it that is is activated in that person who feels like they need to do that, to create that platform? And then what is it in those 62 million people in the shortest month, February? I later found out that it was 81 million visits in March. What is it that makes them want to visit, that makes them want to learn these things? And I sat with that for a couple of days, and I thought about my own two boys, and as athletes, that they can really get into this toxic masculinity. It's very easy to fall into. And I think that's probably why I felt so deeply about this situation and feel like it hits home, is because I think that my own boys have to navigate this. It's really up to them to make the choice in the moment. And for us as women, how do we fight back? How do we counter this type of movement? And in response, I saw so much on socials about the matriarchy and about the rise of women, and have been a proponent myself of it. And even in touting the idea of a matriarchy, there was a little part of me that was like, is that really it? And I feel like it's actually more egalitarian that I would love to see eventually. No one gender, no one type of person has any power over us as a collective. We are the power as a collective, period. And back to the idea of holding two truths or multiple truths at once, this is what I want to talk about today, because we can feel rage and desire simultaneously. So I've been talking a lot about desire and sex on the podcast recently due to heated rivalry and what that has awakened in so many women. And then shit like Rape Academy comes on board, and women are like, fuck, I don't know if I ever want to get laid again. Like I'm terrified of what that means. So what it comes back to is the idea of sovereignty, and how are we being the best possible versions of ourselves that we can be in any one moment, because ultimately we have to remember that we are part of the giant puzzle of humanity. Every single one of us is a part of the whole, and how we feel affects the collective. How we feel has a ripple effect. We are so divorced from that idea that that is when this shit starts happening. These people taking these actions are so devoid of connection, are so devoid of understanding their part in the whole, that they're they're creating harm just to feel something. I want to talk about this from the human design lens because I mentioned earlier that we're all experiencing the emotional solar plexus being defined right now because of the nodal placements. So the north node right now is in gate 37, which is in the solar plexus. The North Node is about your trajectory. It's about what we're all working toward. If you imagine your life on a pathway, your South Node is what you come in with, what you feel comfortable with, what you have some basis in. And your North Node is where you're headed, what you're working toward, how you are trying to grow. And so the North Node being in gate 37 is the gate of harmony. It's about emotional connection. It's about belonging. There's intimacy there. It very much wants peace. This is why I think we keep having these conversations about what will the next system look like, because we need an answer, because this system is not working anymore. And the south node is the other half of that channel, which is gate 40. And isn't this interesting? Gate 40 is the gate of aloneness. It is in the heart center. And this gate is fascinating to me because you can check your chart to see if you have this gate. Go to my website, lorileeside.com, go to get your chart and look in the heart center, which is the smallest triangle in the chart, and see if you have gate 40 activated. Is it colored in? Because gate 40 as the gate of aloneness, yes, does make you experience loneliness. It does make you feel alone at times. However, the energy of gate 40 and this feeling of being alone is a catalyst. It is meant to be a catalyst for community. So it's this fascinating energy of like you realizing, wow, I feel really lonely. I'm going to go look for my people. I'm going to go try to find my community. And it drives you to be part of something. And so there's a bit of this push and pull of like feeling lonely, being alone, being by yourself, and kind of this need to be by yourself. But that need ultimately driving you into finding who your people are. This is South Node energy for the collective right now. The South Node is, I don't want to say letting go because you don't ever really let go of your South Node energy. It's more like you come in, with this understanding of it, and it's just sort of operating in the background because you're familiar with it, you're master of it. But when you apply it to the collective, I think it's a little different, right? Because it's not you anymore as the individual, but the whole. And so how is this feeling of loneliness, which we've heard ad nauseum about the male loneliness epidemic, which, I mean, no fucking wonder, but anyway, the male loneliness epidemic that is driving men to these extremes, maybe that's the reason. But that being the energy that we need to move out of, we need to move away from it. We're moving more toward peace, we're moving more toward belonging, we're moving more toward connection and harmony. So together, this energy, the 3740, is actually about agreements. It's kind of like the handshake agreement that you make. It's the quid pro quo energy, like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. What we give, we're going to receive. So there's definitely this energy of I am giving in order to receive. And I think that's okay as long as you understand, again, your place in the collective. There's always an element of selfishness with any of the gates of the heart center. It's like it's your ego. It's very centered on you. And so it's this reminder that our relationships, our partnerships are meant for our growth. And so, where am I investing my energy and what am I receiving in return? It's also an opportunity for us as women to consider what are the roles that we are playing. And even in the bedroom, since we've been talking a lot about desire and sexuality, what are we receiving in the bedroom? Or are we constantly just giving and not making our needs known? All right, I want to talk a little bit about rage. I did another podcast episode a while back, which I will link in the show notes, about sacred rage and why rage is so important, especially for women. I think that women in general, because we have been conditioned to be the good girl, don't allow ourselves to feel rage. And what I mean by feel rage is literally let it course through your body and express it, release it. I I didn't realize until I left this message with my friend and I Voxer back every day. And I left this message for her on Thursday afternoon after I had heard about the Rape Academy. And I didn't even really realize how much it was weighing on me until I started talking about it. And I got so ragey in that message and so fired up. And I expressed my frustration. I was so angry. I said the things. I probably swore 70 times in one message because I was feeling this mix of definitely rage, definitely frustration, definitely anger, but also like grief and disbelief and this feeling of deep misunderstanding. Like I had such a hard time, and I still have such a hard time wrapping my head around the misogyny and how we got from the 80s when we had so much gender bending. Boy George and Prince were some of my favorite performers, to now when we're in a lot of ways living in The Handmaid's Tale. And I think that what is important is, first of all, allowing that anger. Whether you're angry about world events like what I'm talking about, or whether it's something in your smaller microcosm of your life that is enraging you, not pushing that down, not disallowing it, not ignoring it, but instead understanding that it is information. It is helping you to become aware of your boundaries. It is raising your awareness around your values and what is important to you. And it helps you to understand where things might be misaligned in your life. Using this Rape Academy thing as an example, is there something in that story that is triggering a wound for you? And this book that I was talking about on the last podcast about rage is called Rage Becomes Her. And she talks about how conditioned women are when it comes to suppressing our anger. It's going back to this good girl idea. and how ultimately that suppression, that pressure to be the good girl sucks away our power and our clarity. There's a reason we were conditioned to be the good girl. Good girls are easy to take power over, right? Good girls are easy to take advantage of. Good girls are easy to do whatever the fuck you want to them. If a woman isn't going to raise her voice, isn't going to push back on something, then hell yeah, they can absolutely be taken advantage of. And expressing that anger is what consciously reconnects us to what is true for us. Like I was saying, it brings you back to your values. So anger isn't something to get rid of, it's something to listen to. It is an emotion, just like all of our other emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, they are information. And when we let them be expressed through our bodies, we are allowing ourselves to reconnect with that power. And so, connecting back to gate 3740 and this transit in the nodes right now, I think we are reminded so many times over and over again recently of the imbalance between the masculine and the feminine. It's understanding that we have some fixing to do with these agreements that we have established that have become the fabric of our society. So, how do we, as sovereign women, become our whole selves and not worry about being a bitch, not worry about what somebody else is going to think about us or say about us, not worry about what impression we might be giving, or if somebody might think that, ooh, we're not polished or we're not being the good girl. Can we show up in our ugly? Can we show up in our ragey? Can we show up in our frustration or anger or whatever your not self theme is, all of those not self themes? Can you show up in those and own those as just as important as the higher expression of yourself? Because you are a whole human. And if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you are working so hard on yourself to be more of the high expression. But I want to caution you that no matter where you are in your journey, you are perfect just as you are. And when you show up in your anger, when you show up in your ugly, you are claiming that power. You are saying, I am fucking good enough, no matter if I have sleepy seeds and puffy face and I look like hell and I'm swearing and my words aren't coming out clearly because I have menno brain. All of those things, I am still worthy. My opinion still matters. I have inherent value. Okay, I want to bring us back to the desire conversation that we've been having, because just as much as anger is an indication for us, is a signal for us, so too is desire. And I think that desire is something, again, that we repress as women. And when something like heated rivalry comes along and lights that up and makes it kind of unignorable. If you're like me on Threads, you're seeing every single day people putting up different edits of the show. And I mean, the whole Cowboy Shane, and good God, like Connor this weekend, he was dressed in this like cream suit, and whew, girls, I have not lusted after somebody like that since fucking Brad Pitt in River Runs Through It. It like brought me back to that time. And it just reminded me of the power again of desire. and how important it is to reclaim that in ourselves and let ourselves feel that. All right, so I just got to say too that this whole series on desire and sexuality has been another exercise in my willingness to be vulnerable, tap into my 5 line heretic, of like, people aren't talking about this, and just owning that. And honestly, you all seem to be really wanting it according to my stats. So, with heated rivalry, women are reconnecting with their bodies in new ways, or at least we're thinking about it, or at least we're more open to it. And oh my God, I started listening to Ember and Ice a couple weekends ago when I was on a lacrosse drive, and holy shit, like, I don't know, the whole Quinn app. I mean, I spent a lot of time laughing and giggling, and then also wondering what that reaction was all about, and if that felt like part of my good girl conditioning. But anyway, if you want me to dig more into Ember and Ice, send me a DM. But for right now, a reminder that you can listen to episode 107 for cheat codes to know how you are uniquely designed for sexual pleasure. But what I wanted to say for today, and in light of all the news and the bullshit happening, and connected to this idea of sovereignty, is like, look, we don't need men. In the episode that I recorded when I interviewed Linda River Valente, one of the things that she said about exploring sexuality, and especially in midlife when you're feeling like you want more, you want something new, potentially, to start with yourself. And if you're feeling frustrated, or if you're feeling unsafe, but you still want to do something with that desire, you still have this deep desire and you want to experience pleasure, then maybe this is the time to reclaim your sovereign sexuality, to give yourself the pleasure that you seek. And maybe it will end up affecting, if you're in a relationship, your relationship in positive ways. I can only imagine that it would, but it's a great place to start. And so I asked the good anonymous folks on Reddit for some ideas about this. You're welcome. And I came up with all kinds of sex toys for beginners. And this is my humble service to you. I will link these in the show notes. Some things for you to potentially try. These are not affiliate links. I simply am trying to come to you with, okay, what are some things that you can do on your own to reconnect with deeply pleasurable physical sensations that lead you back to sovereign sexuality. So, apparently there's something called the rose toy. Maybe you know about these things. Maybe I'm the prude here and you have way more experience with this. If you do, please tell me. I want to talk to you about all the things. The rose toy is apparently a suction toy. So think, getting your box chowed. And yeah, that's what it does for you. Then there is something called the Vesper by a company called Crave, which I was like, okay, it's a heated rivalry reference. Like, Crave is the network that originally carried heated rivalry, so must be good. And listen to me, it is a necklace. What? It is literally a piece of jewelry, y'all, that you can wear around your neck. And then you take it out and it's like a little tool. I don't know. People were saying that it was great. So anyway, do with that what you will, my lovelies. But I would like to challenge you, in this season of Aries, in this season of fresh starts, in this season of sovereignty, to take a chance on something that you haven't tried before that is just for you in the realm of sexuality. So maybe it is getting a subscription to the Quinn app. You can listen to Ember and Ice, and there's all other kinds of stuff that you can listen to. If you have some good ones, please send me a message. I want to hear. Maybe you want to read Archive of Our Own, AO3, which is like fan fiction, or reading some different smut novels, reading some different romance novels that, get your sacral popping off, feeling all the goods, or just reheating, rewatching Heated Rivalry. Ultimately, this is about empowerment. This is about learning how your body responds when it feels safe and supported, which is what you can give to yourself. And that's what I mean when I say we don't need men. Actually, even other women, if you're in a relationship with another woman, you don't necessarily need a partner. You can do these things for yourself. And when it comes to sexuality, I think starting with yourself is a great place to start because you can give yourself that safety. You can give yourself that privacy. And when you do, it's about noticing what comes up. Are there agreements, again, that's the word that's dropping in here, agreements that you feel like you are somehow violating by giving yourself this pleasure? And if so, where is that coming from? What happened when you were young or some time down the line? What expectation was placed upon you that you feel you are violating, and how can you break free from that? Maybe it's about some subconscious reprogramming. Maybe it's about some tapping. Maybe it's about journaling it out to just loosen the grip of that expectation and understanding that you are a sovereign being. You deserve pleasure. If you want pleasure, if you want that, it is meant for you. It is meant for you. It's happening somewhere in the ether. It's your higher self reminding you that it is possible for you. So give yourself this time. You alone with you, feeling pleasure, reclaiming your sexuality. This is on your terms and it's without shame. And it's when things come up, it's noticing them, just simply noticing them, not making meaning of them, not allowing them to rob you of your pleasure. That is what sovereignty is all about. And that is what sexual sovereignty is all about. So, in closing, back to the idea of holding two truths at once. How can you hold both anger and desire at the same time? And how can you use both of them to fuel the kind of expression that you want to be in the world as your one tiny little piece of the collective puzzle that ripples out into all of the collective? How can you reclaim this energy to be your power? And of course, if you want to dive into this specifically to your chart, then I'll leave the link below. I have some reading slots open. Feel free to book a slot, or feel free to book a slot just to have a chat and talk about how we can work together. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, drop a comment. And until next week, I am wishing you the strength to let go of what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and clarity to be who you came here to be.